This is Stephanie Hoff from WISPolitics.com and WISPbusiness.com, welcoming you to a webcast conversation with the state's superintendent candidates. This is a special series we're doing in partnership with the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition. The Tech Hub recognizes K-12 computer science education as vital to growing the region's technology economy. So ahead of the February 16th primary, we're going to see what the candidates have to offer. Each candidate is asked the same 3 questions from the Tech Hub. The candidates did not see the questions ahead of time or hear each other's responses before recording. Troy Gunderson joins me now. He currently serves as a professor at Viterbo University in La Crosse, teaching in the superintendent certification program. Troy, thanks for giving us your time today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited about it.
So we're going to jump right in to the questions. Troy, every industry is undergoing some kind of digital transformation right now. So technological literacy is really a gateway to upward mobility. However, technology and computer science standards are not consistently integrated into the expectations for a college and career-ready graduate. How is this specifically addressed by the equity-aligned priorities of your platform?
Well, when we talk about students ready to learn, my platform's connected a word around ready. And part of that is students ready to learn and being able to serve the families. I think, first of all, as I tour the state of Wisconsin, broadband access has to become a utility, not the way we sell it today, because about a quarter of our state doesn't have quality broadband access. And in terms of the school districts, I think our platform needs to be the other piece of my platform, the total is redefining ready is the way in which you measure high school graduates when they come out the other end. And being able to be workplace ready is an important piece. And so connecting the industries to produce kids, to give kids the opportunities to experiment and see what industry is about. When I was high school principal in West Salem, we have a large auto industry. And so we have $1 million auto shop that the local industries use to train their own employees. They come and train our people, they work together. So we were turning out employees that fit right into their industry. We were working on the same thing with computer tech support and computer programming coding. We were working with WTC, UWL, and we were attempting to create a sort of a Google space inside of our high school where kids could be able to learn and adapt to that. I think one of the key pieces to that moving forward is kids have to see what the industry has to offer. I think they have a lot of misunderstanding as to what folks do when they work in the tech industry. And that's a real big piece to being able to draw folks in. It has to be part of readiness for work. If we think about technology is everywhere. As superintendent, when we reloaded our computers, we've been one-to-one in West Salem for the last 10 years. And I remember telling people we're no longer buying computers that plug into the walls, we're buying computers that plug into kids because they're going to live in a world dominated by technology and they have to learn how to do that.
But moving from the kids to who's teaching them, the teacher and substitute shortage has been exacerbated by COVID-19. But teachers in Wisconsin are not generally required to demonstrate proficiency in tech and comp sci standards. Those that do are most likely to find opportunities in the private sector. So what public policy measures would you advocate for to ensure more capacity for tech literacy in schools, despite that shrinking supply of teachers who might be capable of achieving those outcomes?
Well, back to my previous answer, the word ready goes through my platform, ready to lead, ready to learn. And then the third part of that is teachers ready to teach. And we have to think seriously about where the next generation of teachers are coming from, how to train them and support them and all those. As that technology changes, I was just watching my wife, she's been teaching for 30 some years and she now is filling in for a lady who's having a baby. And so she was teaching remotely from our kitchen the other day. And so how did the school district train her to use that device? How did her skills develop and evolve? Because we certainly didn't learn how to use that in 1986 when she started teaching. So I think we really need to bake into the system the continued development of the skill set for teachers regarding that. As far as finding them, last year in West Salem, we hired a person who had a degree in computer science to teach computer science in our high school, and she was one of the very few in the whole state who had that degree. I think the key to this thing is connecting the industry. We had also worked with, who in our community works in that industry as a profession, and then we cycle back to their employer and find out whether or not we can spare that person, and we can show them how to teach or teach with them, and they become the content expert. Because I think it's going to be critical that we connect the industry, and so that we can continue to keep the access that our kids have evolving and current. As far as our own teachers are concerned, that's just like any other industry in terms of maintaining technological competency within your employees. You have to have a strategy for that, and you have to be able to provide the training and the access and be able to stop the world for a minute so that their regular job is on hold while they're learning how to stay current. It really has to be part of that. So if we think about two pieces of my platform: teachers ready to teach, which is make sure that their skills continue to develop, and students ready to, or graduates who are future ready, is all part of creating an industry-wide children who are, or graduates who are ready to be not only successful when they first hit the ground, but they have a knowledge about their own skill set in terms of learning. Because again, if you're 22 years old and you're starting in a career, by the time you're 62, what do we think technology is going to do over those 40 years? The most important skill you're going to have is the ability to adapt.
And Troy, about 52% of public high schools in Wisconsin offer a computer science course. But there are still many barriers to scaling the offerings to purposefully include girls and students of color. Can you give us 2 to 3 of the largest barriers that you see, and how will you and your team address those if elected?
Well, first of all, it's interesting to know when I left college in 1985, I was a computer science teacher. So I understand this. I did that when I first entered this world. You have to overtly do that. The last two people who, we had a computer science teacher in West Salem who left, and then we found a teacher who was the most interested in tech and most interested in learning, and she continued to grow and develop. And we really emphasized access for this for young women, and we made a concerted effort to hire a replacement then who was female in terms of being able to access that, because otherwise the entire interest level turns into a male dominated thing in school, and we just can't afford that. There's just not enough people to make that happen. As far as a statewide procedure and policy of that, again, I believe it's industry needing to be involved in advocating for that, providing the resources and the training. So if we look at our region over here, the University of Wisconsin at La Crosse has a wonderful computer science department. Are they connecting the local industry, and so that all of the teacher candidates have some access to what they can expect, and what are you providing and understanding as you teach teachers, especially those at the secondary level? When you're teaching science in a high school, or teaching social studies in a high school, or math in a high school, how can you connect that to the computer industry? And how do we continue to touch bases with those industries so that the kids know what's available to them? I think it's very, very important that we expand the access. And again, in our area, we've had just such wonderful success with the automotive folks. They help pay for our lab. They use our lab at night. They retrain their own techs. They help train our kids. And we're going to need to do that in the tech field, because the technology changes so fast that that industry has figured out how to continually train their people. And we should be able to model that and connect that to our teacher standards, so that our teachers have some access to that and understanding, but also that we are able to model some of that to keep folks current, because the ball is changing all the time, and we have to stay on top of that, or our kids will never have that access.
Well, thanks, Troy, for sharing your thoughts with us today. We're wrapped up, so good luck to you in the primary.